Hey, Twisted listeners. I'm Cindy,
And I'm Viva.
and this is Twisted Listers, a podcast about murder.
And Liz.
I love that I waited till you were taking a drink of water to start talking. Sorry.
I was ready. I slammed it.
No, you did. You did great. What is this? Part two? Part two of Murders of
Appalachia.
Yes,
Mhm.
it's an exciting, pardon me, topic. I've been really enjoying my research.
Yeah.
And I don't know what else to say. We're in a little bit of a hurry. We've got time crunch. We both have things to do. So we're just going to get into it, guys. There's no fucking around today.
No preamble. No preamble. I got a cat to take to the vet after this, and she is very hard to get into a carrier. So I'm a little stressed about that.
Yeah. So
how that's going to go.
Let's just get her done. I have to get,
okay.
I have stuff. I'm pretending I have stuff. I have nothing. I'm a loser. No, I have stuff to do. So we got to move forward.
Okay.
I went first last time. You go first this time.
Okay.
All
right. I'm going to do a whole, I'm in a hurry, but also I'm going to do a huge serial killer.
Oh, no.
Although not really huge. It's like a very lesser known, actually, serial killer. So there's some big holes in information, but this is a really wild ride, and I'm excited to hear your reactions.
Okay.
So this is Randall Lee Smith, because serial killers all have to have 3 names.
Okay.
Randall Lee Smith. He's known as the AT murderer, which stands for Appalachian Trail Murderer, and we'll see why.
Wait, the ATM?
Oh, yeah, ATM.
That's terrible.
I didn't think of that.
That's awful. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
AT murder. But yeah, there's a couple Appalachian Trail serial killers that you covered, I think, in the outdoorsy kind of lists. But this guy, he just slipped through the cracks. He was actually on our list for all of that, for camping and hiking murders and stuff, and we never did it. So he's always the bridesmaid, never the
bride.
Yeah, he never made it. But here we are.
Now's his big day.
Now's his time. So there's not much out there about Randall Lee's early life, but I did see that his dad left when he was young, so there's hints of some troubledness. And for some reason, the one detail of his childhood that everyone repeats, so it must be true, I guess, is that his mom dressed him up in girls' clothing as a kid, a la Ed Kemper. So
a la my grandpa.
My classic serial killer move. Yeah.
I don't think my grandpa was a serial killer, but it definitely fucked him up that his mom nicknamed him Pinky and dressed him in dresses until he was 4. Anyway, go on.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
That's definitely not a cool thing to do. No. So I get also the impression that Randall was very isolated and had a hard time making friends, and he was really generally a loner type of guy his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
He loved the Appalachian Trail and knew it very well. He's based in Pearlsburg. I forgot how to say it. Pearlsburg, Virginia. Anyway. And he loves camping on the trail. He's also a chain smoker. I don't know why I'm including that. Okay. He's also a compulsive, just to paint a picture, he's also a compulsive liar who very early on earns the nickname Lying Randall. So everyone just calls him Lying Randall.
Randall.
Yeah. Because he constantly lies, and he's very bad at it, and no one believes him. So it's not oh, we can't keep his story straight. It's oh yeah, everything he says is bullshit, and we know immediately that it's bullshit.
All right.
He's also lies a lot about being a ladies' man and going on frequent dates. So he's always telling a tall tale about the various women he's seeing, and it's mostly or entirely bullshit.
Okay.
Randall also has 0 criminal record, even though there's a bad childhood. Maybe there's no he doesn't do any robberies or anything at all. So what's coming next comes completely out of the blue as far as his history.
Okay.
Right to the main event, which is where most people start. May 1981, Laura Ramsey and Robert Mountford Jr. are both 27-year-old social workers from Maine on a camping trip on the Appalachian Trail.
Okay.
They're camping in an area, which I love the name of, called Dismal Creek. That's perfect.
They keep it really real out there, I feel.
Oh, yeah. Dismal Creek.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unclear to me what kind of like interaction Randall had with Laura and Robert. But essentially, the two are found shot, and Randall had shot them both in the head. I'm just getting right to it.
Okay, yeah, wow.
And
Okay, here we are.
I don't have any context of how this happened, but
Mhm.
or motive or anything. He doesn't have a lot of motive, this guy. He just does this shit.
Okay.
They were each shot in the head and buried in their sleeping bags in shallow graves in this area called the Wapiti Shelter. And it's basically like a kind of lean-to, like it's a very primitive, I hate that word, but like a very basic shelter
Mhm.
of covering for people to camp in, essentially. And they were found right by that, where they had been camping. But before they had been shot, Laura in particular had gone through an extensive ordeal because she was found also with defensive injuries. She was beaten in the head with a hunk of iron.
Jesus, where do you even get a hunk of iron?
Just a big old piece of iron. And she had been, this is gnarly, she had been stabbed 13 times with a old ass nail taken out of the wooden shelter.
What the fuck?
Just a big old nail. Yeah. Ugh.
Ugh. Yeah, exactly.
Picture being all
Ugh.
rusty, right?
Yeah, I'm imagining. Ugh.
She also had knife wounds, and it's thought she was sexually assaulted, although it's not like able to be 100% determined because of the condition of her body. They were in shallow graves. They were reported missing because they had like a lunch date the next day with some people, and they didn't show up. And later on, when their bodies were found, because of a cadaver dog search in the area of the shelter, then it's like, okay, boop, 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 boop. They start putting the case together and they're looking through their stuff. And the victims that had been seen with a man matching Randall's descriptions, although he's always giving fake names, so I think that had confused people a bit.
Okay.
And the thing that identifies him as their killer is that there's a bloody fingerprint found on Laura's a book that Laura was reading that was at the crime scene, and this actually comes up as a match to Randall, who, even though he didn't have a criminal record, he actually had his fingerprints on file but from working as a welder. I guess that's something you have to do. I don't know why.
Wait, what?
No clue.
Okay.
No clue. No
Okay.
clue why. Yeah.
Okay.
But he was a welder.
Like, don't ask me. I don't know.
I don't know. For innocent reasons, they were on file. So thankfully they were. And so they were like, oh, it's Randall E. Smith. Okay.
Maybe it's because of chemicals you have to purchase?
Oh, yeah.
That would make sense.
Something like that.
Sorry.
Go
ahead.
Jesus Christ.
I just was like, hold on. I
Sorry.
may have figured it out. Wait, what happened?
My phone. No, my phone just like went off. A few fucking spam members have been calling me. I'm like, shut up, spams.
Oh, I know. It's so fucking bad.
It's so weird.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Randall briefly goes on the run stupidly, but he's found in South Carolina, and he claims to be someone else, and he claims to have amnesia and has no memory of anything. Like, I have no idea who I am, et cetera, et cetera. But doctors are like, actually, and he looks like really ragged and like he's been outside for a while and looks like shit, and he's covered in bug bites. And so they actually play a game on it with him, and they're like, oh, your bug bites are like, they could kill you. They're like super dangerous. Can we take you to the hospital? And when he goes to the hospital with them, he signs Randall E. Smith on the paperwork.
Oh, shit.
And so they're like, okay, gotcha.
He's an idiot.
So he's arrested and charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. There's tons and tons of evidence against him. He was seen with Laura Ramsey at the Wapiti shelter. Like I said, there's tons of their stuff that was taken and found at his house, or rather his parents' house. He lived with his parents.
Okay.
Including blood-soaked clothes belonging to the victims. So he took like tons and tons of trophies. And that's kind of a thing he does, I think. In his car's ashtray, Randall's car, they also find a note that read, quote, I don't know what this is. It's like a really sad little diary. Quote, this boy and girl have been so nice to me. It is going to be a real shame when the time comes to get rid of them.
Oh my God.
I will be far away before Truck and those people are found. So it's like a little mini diary, I guess.
Why? I always wonder why people do that.
Why?
Like, yeah, like, why are you announcing
why
this,
is a great
dumbass?
question.
Yeah. Well, why are they doing it? But why are they all, The whole thing doesn't make
Yeah.
sense,
He
obviously.
also left a note at his house being like, hi, it's Randall. I have been kidnapped, and these kidnappers are definitely going to kill me. Bye.
Oh, come on.
And then he goes out and about, and he's like, I have amnesia, help. So he just loves doing really embarrassing lies that no one
Knows.
buys.
Yeah. That's kind of
Also,
sad.
just I gotta mention this, in his possession at his house or his parents' house were laminated pornographic like printouts or something from magazines, which I think it's really dorky to laminate them. I'm
He's
so
like, I
sorry.
don't want to wear these pages out. I am going to protect them in plastic. Like, Jesus,
The
dude.
lamination is so sad. There's
That's so
also
bad.
hospital instruments. This is how they're described everywhere. Quote, hospital instruments fashioned into sex toys, which
Oh.
I really, really, really want to know which hospital instruments. Like,
Yeah.
that could be so many things. Like, I'm picturing like the Toy Box Killers like wall, and I'm like, that could be a lot. That could be a lot of stuff.
I'm feeling like a speculum probably would be just really bad. Yeah, I don't
Sure.
like it. I don't like it.
I don't like it at all. So shortly before the trial, I think it was like prosecutor, I don't know, one of these assholes, DAs or prosecutors, actually thinks there's not enough evidence to like go to trial, and which I'm like, what? Yeah, what? And they offer him essentially a plea bargain if he'll plead guilty, and so he does. And because he pled guilty, he gets this bargain that gets him 2 concurrent terms of 15 years for each of the murders. So I believe that means at the same time.
Okay.
Right?
Concurrently?
Concurrent?
Yeah. Same time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in 1996, Randall gets out after serving his 15 years, essentially.
That's fucking insane.
He's on parole, so he has like, to check in and parole wise and stuff, but still, like, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, but I don't feel like that's really gonna do what they hope it's gonna do. You know what I mean?
Right. No.
Yeah.
So his victims' families and just people in general, and like the hiking community and just all kinds of people are outraged by this very early release, which, like, yeah, it's a little silly, especially considering, like, how long we give people for drug crimes and stuff, which I always point out. Like, the discrepancy annoys me more than anything.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So he's out, and so lying Randall, one of his favorite things to do after this time was to tell people that he had amnesia now, just like going forward as a way of bypassing like talking about the murders,
right?
Which is cute. So fast forward a decade or so to May 2008.
Okay.
Randall disappears, and he does not have like any friends. I think like his neighbors are the people who call in and say like, we're concerned about him, but he doesn't really have like any people in his life. At this time, Randall's 54. But if you look up on Google image search, you guys, this is a rough 54. He looks like I'm sorry, like, but he looks like he's 95.
I'm looking him up right now. Do you think it oh, whoa. I've just
54.
Lying Randall?
Lying Randall, yeah.
That guy's 54 in that photo?
54. Yeah, he looks like a great grandpa.
He looks like
dying.
A skeleton with skin. Like, that's it.
He looks like a grandparent who's not doing well in life.
Holy shit. Yeah, no.
Super emaciated, super unhealthy looking. It's unclear what he actually had going on health-wise, but something, right?
Does he have teeth? It doesn't look like he has teeth either.
That might be part of it, yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so now we're going to go on like chapter 2, a whole sub-story here.
I'm ready.
That is really fucking wild. So authorities are alerted to Randall's whereabouts, basically when 2 victims come forward and tell their story about how Randall attempted to shoot and kill them. And in the Appalachian Trail, and their story of surviving this attack is fucking insane. So here's the part where we're going to do a little mini episode of I Survived, which this is an episode of I Survived. That's how I watched it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So the 2 men were Scott Johnston and Sean Farmer, 2 BFFs from Virginia in their 30s who were on a trout fishing / camping trip in the forest in the Dismal Creek area. And where they're camping is actually a stone's throw from the Wapiti shelter.
Okay.
where the first murder took place. So these two men described how Sean met Randall while he was fishing, and he was super skinny, and sadly he had a super skinny dog with him. And he looked like he had been out in the woods and not doing super well. I mean, look at the picture, like he wasn't doing well.
No.
He was wearing camo, and he had his fishing rod with him. And so he just takes him as like a poor, maybe drifter kind of guy who's out fishing. He tells a bunch of lies about how he worked for NASA and Virginia Tech and stuff, and the guys are like rolling their eyes again. No one believes his bullshit.
Right.
And although they're kind of wary, they also feel really bad for him, and these guys are really nice. So they invite him to come back and have some food at their campsite, and they feed him and his dog some fish.
Okay.
Because they're nice.
Yeah.
Right as so they spend a kind of awkward evening with this guy, and right as he's heading out, like he gets up and he's like, all right, okay, goodbye, you know, kind of like about to leave.
Yeah.
Literally out of the fucking blue, Randall shoots them each twice.
Holy shit. Just like, thanks for the fish. Boom, boom.
The face, neck, and chest, like really intense shots. Whoa. And also I wanted to point out, and I don't know if it's originating in this story at all, but I wanted to point out that the way this exact thing plays out is a horror trope from like outdoorsy and camping horror movies that I've seen like 5 or 6 times, where you're like around the fire and a fucking random dude comes up and you're like, oh, okay. And there's like this tense evening spent with a random drifter who gets weirder and weirder.
Yeah.
At your campsite. Sorry, for some reason I just want to say that. Like this exact thing has played out in horror movies.
Oh,
and I don't know 100%. If they took it from this.
Yeah.
So Sean, who's been shot in the neck, ran into the woods and took cover, and he smartly stuck his finger into the bullet hole in his neck to just plug it up.
Smart. That is smart.
Which is, I guess, the thing you should do, you guys.
Yeah.
Safety tips here. I always think watching I Survived is like just nonstop tips, you know, on like how to like do this.
Yeah.
Scott manages to get in his car, even though he's been shot in the face, and he starts it up, and as he starts to leave, Sean runs up to him on the road and hops in the car, and they drive away.
Okay, good. So they get away.
Yeah, but the guy, what's his face? Scott cannot really drive, having been shot in the face. The two men are 6 miles from the bottom of the mountain and 50 miles from any help or civilization or hospital. On the way down the mountain road, Sean or Scott blacks out. And Sean grabs the wheel, and he is driving with his friend at the wheel passed out while he's also holding still a finger in his neck wound. And he's driving down a mountain.
It is really smart. I don't think people realize that it's like, just plug the hole. Like, that's going to help. Just plug the hole. It's going to help.
Yes.
It's weird, but it will.
Yeah, so this is a crazy ass fucking movie scene here.
It really is.
They end up kind of driving the car off on an embankment, but thankfully they run, I think, up to someone's house. They find the residents and are able to get them to call 911, which they do. And after the two men get away from him, Randall, meanwhile, flees in the other man's truck, which he steals. And as he's fleeing, a Virginia state trooper rolls up and starts pursuing him, knowing, you know, who he is and what happened.
Right.
And in this chase, Randall totals the truck, and then people think he might have flipped it over on purpose as kind of like a suicide attempt.
Or even just like a weird narcissist, like, oh, I'm injured, help me kind of thing. I don't know. I can see that too.
Yeah, so to be just a drama queen about it, he flips the truck. He is severely injured, and after being treated at a hospital, the same one where Sean and Scott were down the hall being treated for their wounds.
Oh, shit.
He is charged with 2 attempted murder charges and transferred to a medical unit at a local prison. However, twist ending here, Randall actually died 4 days after this crash because he got a blood clot.
Oh.
So that's that. Except not. There's one more thing.
Wait, seriously? That's it?
Yeah.
He just fucking died?
Yeah, he died. He died from the crash injuries, essentially, from side effects of that. Yeah.
What a bitch.
And you can imagine Sean and Scott's shock when they get the information that they were actually attacked by the Appalachian Trail, quote unquote, killer, this guy who killed these two hikers and was somehow out. And they're like, oh, cool. You know, like, wow. Kind of a shocking detail there.
Yeah.
So an Appalachian Trail camper in that area also later came forward and described running into Randall, who had just, right after he had shot and attempted to kill those two men, and had come back to a pile of stuff he had kind of hidden in the brush. And they basically, it was like their campsite, and right next to it, this guy's rummaging through brush. And so they're like, hey, dude, what the fuck? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And when Randall saw them or was acknowledged by them, he basically like scuttled away. Like I'm pretty sure it was a scuttle that he did. Like, boop, 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 boop. So this camper reported this after the story came out of the two men's attempted murder, and he led authorities back to this area, and they found Randall's little stash of stuff in the bushes. And this is a whole other thing. So I have to tell you about the list of stuff in the bush.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack. So it includes about 20 knives and a hatchet, 6 pairs of women's eyeglasses.
Okay.
Bloody clothes, women's underwear, Randall's GED certificate and birth certificate, which are pretty fucking identifying. His whole birth certificate.
Okay.
A tape recorder that contained a tape of some kind of ritual, quote unquote. And I'll on this audio tape, you could hear a man chanting, women moaning, and someone playing a theremin in the background. Which, if you don't know what a theremin is, it's like a really fun, kitschy, like surf rock type of like exotica tiki instrument.
Oh, I love a theremin.
We love a theremin. Yeah, you make like
awesome.
spooky haunted house sounds when you use also a theremin. So the theremin detail makes me feel like this could be like an Anton LaVey thing or something, you know, where it's like kind of that era of like a satanic thing where it's like kind of cute. Anyway, but there's that audio tape, which of course in Virginia and stuff in this wake of this case, people are like, "Oh, satanic occult ritual murder," right? They also find pages of notes with quote written incantations from the Wiccan religion. And they definitely are Wiccan incantations, but I think it's really important to note that one of these incantations is from the movie The Craft, and it's read by Fairuza Balk's character, which I just have to like point out is awesome. So is he a real practitioner of Wicca or Satanism? I don't know. Or is he just collecting these little things that are fun? I don't know. But of course, people like to make a lot of those findings as like, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I think is more interesting, and people have also talked about the questions raised by this cache of stuff, are the glasses and the underwear, because did he just take these, or are these more souvenirs from his other victims? Are there other victims? Because we know he loves to take trophies, right?
Right.
Like copious amounts of trophies from both. Well, I don't know if he had time in the second case, but from his first victims, he took a ton of trophies. So,
right.
That's a good question. And after this find, a bunch of kind of hiking areas around Dismal Creek were searched and looking for bodies or additional kind of caches of stuff, but nothing was found. And many of the items and knives and stuff were also sent away for DNA testing, but to no success. So it's just an open question, but we don't know if he did actually kill other people. But like, this is kind of I think a worthy question because of the glasses and shit. Like,
yeah, I mean, there's so many serial killers that only get caught for a few, never admit anything, and then there's like evidence of other things, but you just can't figure it out because of, various factors. It sounds like this is definitely one of those cases.
And like underwear, it could be like, okay, that's a classic thing that people might like steal or whatever, but like glasses is like, how do you steal people's glasses?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I found glasses before, but I'm also not like a serial killer. That'd be a hell of like a coincidence,
Right.
So, yeah, not good. Not good.
Anyway, that's Randall E. Smith. It's a weird little story.
That's so weird that he just died of like a fucking blood clot after all that. So anticlimactic. Probably because he was so fucking unhealthy,
Yeah, he wasn't the healthiest, but he
No.
also got in a car accident. So.
Yeah, so fuck him. Sorry, guys, we had to take a quick break there. All right. Well, fuck that sickly old man.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I have a pretty fucked up story. This is really fucking horrific and unreal, but it is
Okay,
what it is, so let's get to
let's
it.
do it.
This is the Pike County Massacre. It's just so fucked up. It took place in Pike County, Ohio, which is just on the edge of Appalachia. And these are tiny little towns. Not a lot of homes, even lots of trailers. Not a lot of money. It's a very poor area. In any case, um, you know, just very Appalachian in kind of its setting. So this takes place on April 22nd, 2016, when Bobby Jo Manley goes to her family's trailer. She doesn't live there, but it's like the family home. And she's going there to feed the animals, which included 2 pit bulls. She and her brother both show up and they walk into the home and they find a horrific scene. Her father, 40-year-old Christopher Roden's body, was on the ground in the living room dead. She freaks out. As they go into the house, they find another body near him, and that was of his older brother, Kenneth Roden, age 44. Bobby Jo calls 911 while her brother James goes to check on the rest of the family. Now, this families in these areas are very tight knit. They all live, near each other. They see each other constantly. It's a very like strong family bonds, right?
Yeah.
So on this property, there's 3 trailers. 2 of them are literally next door, and the other one is like not even a mile away. They also have a large amount of property. So James, her brother, goes to the 2 other properties and finds 4 more bodies. So
Oh my
we now
God.
have, yeah. Actually, he should have found 5 more bodies.
Okay.
He finds 5 more bodies.
Jesus.
These bodies are 20-year-old Clarence Frankie Roden, his girlfriend Hannah Gilly. Then we have Dana Roden, who is Christopher's ex-wife, as well as 16-year-old Christopher Jr., 16. And last, we have another Hannah Roden, age 19.
Oh my God.
In the room, yeah. In the room with Frankie and Hannah Gilly were 2 children, and they were not harmed. There was a 6-month-old who was asleep between his 2 dead parents, and a 2-year-old asleep on the floor.
Oh my God.
Now, next to 19-year-old Hannah Roden's body was her 4-day-old baby,
Oh my
still trying to
God.
suckle for food. Yeah, still trying to
That's
suckle for
fucked
food.
up.
Fucked up.
Yeah.
Each of these victims, so we have 7. I don't know how to count. I apologize. We have 7 total. Had been brutally murdered. And Christopher was the only victim with even a hint of defensive wounds. Everyone else had been killed either in a surprise attack or most of them were asleep in bed before they could react. And like I said, these murders are fucking brutal. Each victim had been shot in the head. Every single one of them had been shot multiple times.
Okay.
At least 2 of the victims were shot through the eye. One was shot under the chin up through the top of their head. And many of the shots were so close that they left burn marks on the victim's skin.
It's like execution style, the classic, like saying.
And like super overkill. Like Christopher was shot, I think, 5 times. Most of the bodies were at least shot twice, some of them as many as 4 times. It's fucking crazy. I think they said later on that there were a total of 32 shots fired.
Wow.
Well, yeah. Now, police are investigating this scene when another 911 call comes in from another trailer about 8 miles away. Another cousin of the Roden family heard about this on the news and went to check on a different cousin, Gary Roden, to make sure he was safe. And very sadly, found this man dead with a single gunshot wound to the head. So this brings the victim total to 8. Police were like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Super perplexed at first. Not really any leads. Like, who the fuck is going to kill a whole family? But as they start investigating, they find some evidence at the scene that gives them a sense of things, but also kind of, at least at first, led them in the wrong direction. So the first thing they notice is the cell phones are gone.
Oh.
None of the family's cell phones are present. So they're like, whoever killed them had evidence, something incriminating on some of these phones.
Yeah, they're trying to hide something. Yeah.
Yes. The second thing that they noticed or thought was that it was probably more than one person who killed all of these people because it was at multiple locations over multiple miles, all happening in the same location, right? Brutality was also a factor. It definitely seemed sort of like personal, you know?
Yeah.
So that was something that police looked at. You know, is it people they knew? Was it, you know, something else? Because they also said it could be a mob hit. And this, like, kind of drug cartel-y thing was sort of backed up by the fact that police found 200 marijuana plants growing illegally.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
That's quite an
Yeah.
operation then. Yeah.
Yeah. Weed is not legal in Ohio. So these
No.
guys were doing a big scale. 200 plants, that's not personal use. You know,
No,
that's
that
a
is an
big
operation.
amount.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is an illegal drug, you know, ring thing they've got going on here. Also, very unfortunately, there were signs of cockfighting and breeding of roosters for cockfighting,
Oh,
which
that's a
is super
bummer.
fucked.
Yeah.
It is, but I try not to judge too much because you have to remember that these areas are extremely poor. Like,
Okay.
there's not money. There's nothing, and you do what you have to do to survive. And I don't love it, but like, I also, it's not the same thing as like that fucking asshole football player that
Oh,
was like
right.
killing pit bulls, you know, just for
Yeah.
clout. Like, it's a
Yeah.
different, it's not cool, but like, it's a
No.
different vibe.
Okay.
So police have all of this kind of stuff, and they're thinking, okay, maybe it was like a drug related thing. They killed the whole family. That's definitely like more of a drug kind of situation. If the whole family's involved, something goes sideways, maybe that's what it is. They start interviewing people. They interview over 50 people, which for a town of 2,200 is quite a lot of the residents.
Yeah.
They get tons of evidence. Nothing is super helpful. There's no murder weapons, no shell casings. Nothing is left on the scene. Like the people who perpetrated this crime were very, very careful about cleaning up and not leaving a trace. I have to say, like, they did a very good job, to be honest, which is fucked. One lead investigators followed. Here's the thing: there's like the law of the hills where people like won't talk,
Yeah.
but it's also a small town where everybody talks. So it's kind of like two sides to that. So one of the leads that investigators followed was looking into another family from the area. This was the Wagner family. Now, this family consisted of the father, George Billy Wagner III. What's up with everybody having like random nicknames?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because so there's his ex-wife Angela, who he's still close with, and then his sons Billy Wagner IV and Edward Jake Wagner. Like,
And
again, where the fuck?
they're not related to the first name, the regular name either.
No,
No,
it's just like
this
random.
whole
There's
separate name.
Yeah, there's three people in the story that just go by like random ass names that have nothing to do with their actual names. So it's like all the juniors, you know, small towns. There's a lot of juniors. Apparently, there's also a lot of random nicknames. So anyway, there's George Billy Wagner the third, the father, his ex-wife and the mother Angela Wagner, and their sons Jake and Billy Wagner. Now, Jake was 23 at the time of these killings and had actually fathered a son with Hannah Roden, which was the Hannah who was found with the 4-day-old next to her.
Okay.
So the two, in fact, had a 2-year-old daughter who had very luckily been staying with him for a few days while Hannah recovered from childbirth. This younger 4-day-old child was with another man, like she had him with another man, and she and Jake had not been together for a while, but the families knew each other really well, as most of the families in this town did. Right.
Yeah.
So beyond their relationship, which by the way started when she was 13 and he was nearly 18. So that's kind of weird.
So that's like child molestation? Like,
pretty much. But it was with her father's blessing, apparently. Like, her dad was like, yes, you can date my daughter. I don't know. But this could be because their dads also knew each other because they would do drug deals together.
Yeah.
So these families are both kind of rougher. They both kind of have like the drugs and the cockfighting and all that. So they definitely, these families like intermingle, which is probably how she ended up like dating this guy because their families knew each other.
Yeah.
So for their part, after the murders, you know, the Wagners seemed very concerned. You know, they were concerned for their shared daughter. You know, but they did immediately apply for full custody of her, but that kind of also makes sense. And they did have a document signed by Hannah stating that if she were to die or if anything were to happen to her, that Jake should get full custody of their daughter.
Okay.
Now, some people, especially Hannah's friends and family, found this weird because Hannah and Jake did not get along. And Hannah, it turned out, had actually left him after he choked her during like a jealous rage.
Okay, really cool guy.
Yeah, but that was kind of the only thing really pointing to them being involved, and wanting custody of a child isn't a super fair reason to kill 8 people across 4 different homes and multiple miles.
You'd think, yeah.
Yeah. So even though the cops were kind of wondering about this family, the case eventually went cold. Police did keep their eye on this family, and the rumors continued to swirl. And eventually this family moved to Alaska. And that's pretty suspicious to just like bail out of the state, you know?
To like a
But
far away, distant state.
yeah. But when asked, they said, it's because they wanted to get away from the rumors because, their shared daughter, her daughter was like his daughter or whatever was getting older, and they just didn't want to deal with like people talking and her hearing all these terrible things about the family or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So they leave for like a year, but they end up coming back. And at this point, not only did they have George IV's wife, but Jake also had a new wife in tow. So he went up to Alaska and found himself a wife and brought her back to Ohio.
Okay.
Now, very shortly after they returned, both of these women fled from the family.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Red flag if your new ladies are fleeing real quick.
Yes. And it's not, we don't really know exactly why this happened, or what they said to friends and family, because this is all kept under wraps. But essentially, right after this happened, this is when the case broke open. So these women said or did something. There was something that connects, they came back to Ohio. These women bail out. They get interviewed by the police, and suddenly the police are back on the case. They're looking into this family. Now, the first thing, or one of the first things police did, was they started to look more into the document used to gain full custody of Sophia, their shared daughter, and they determined that it had actually been forged. Mm-hmm. And this was reinforced by Hannah's friends, who'd been saying this the whole time, but also in part of their investigation, police found out that Jake and his mother had hacked into Hannah's Facebook page while she was still alive, and they had found an email or like a message that she had sent to a friend via Facebook saying that she would rather die than give her child to Jake and his family, which to me,
yeah.
So Hannah said, and the 2 women who fled obviously probably felt the same way, that this family was very controlling and weird. And even in an area where the families all kind of like vote on things together, everything's like a family decision, the families are very close, this family was like particularly weird and controlling, and like very much like once you're married into the family, you kind of become their property. And Hannah said that even beyond being attacked by Jake, she left because she didn't want to be controlled, and she didn't want her daughter subjected to that. So, also friends came forward and said that Jake had a lot to say about the people Hannah was exposing their daughter to, which is funny considering that his family were drug dealers, but like, whatever.
Okay, dude. Calm down.
So now this becomes a bigger part of the investigation, because even though it's a really fucking stupid motive, it's still a motive, So now they start collecting more and more evidence. They found video evidence of the family buying guns, ordering suppressors online, which are like silencers, but a little less effective.
Okay.
Also probably cheaper. They bought the thing called shell catchers that catch the casings on the bullets being used. They even bought different and new shoes to wear that were not in their correct sizes, so that if they did leave like footprints, it would throw police off the trail. However, once police found the receipts for these shoes, they matched the shoe prints left, like perfectly.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Police also then bug their family phones and vehicles and surveil them for months. Finally, in January 2018, all 4 members of the Wagner core family were arrested, as were the mothers of each of the parents. So George III's mother was arrested for lying to police, and there's an interview with her where she is so good. She is so good at lying. And then Angela's mother was arrested for forging the documents where Hannah like signed saying she wanted them to take Sophia.
So it's a whole murder family. It's a murder family.
It goes all the way to the matriarchs. So they're in prison. They have the footprints, they have witness testimony, they have, Facebook stuff. They have the receipts of all of the stuff being bought right before the murders, just in the months leading up to it. Essentially, the Facebook message they read was about 4 months before the murders. And then this all took place in that span. They don't have the murder weapons, so that's a problem. But they have enough to hold this family. So all 4 of the family members end up in prison starting in 2018, awaiting trial. But as we all know, the justice system moves at a snail's pace, and the family was still awaiting trial when COVID hit. So now they have this indefinite wait period where who knows when they're ever going to go to trial. And little Jakey boy here, who's now about 26, cracks under the pressure.
Of course.
And he makes a deal with prosecutors that if they take the death penalty off the table for his entire family, he will tell them the entire whole truth.
Oh.
Because in Ohio, they will fucking kill you.
Yeah.
So here's the truth. After hearing that Hannah would rather die than give up custody of their daughter, Jake and his mother Angela devise a plan to kill Hannah. But not just Hannah, her entire fucking family, so that there's nobody in line to try to claim custody of their child.
Jesus, so that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yep, they even a 16-year-old boy they fucking kill so that he can't try to adopt. Like what are you doing?
He wouldn't even he couldn't even have done that.
Nope, absolutely could not have. But they just went fucking crazy. Yeah. So they bring this to the family, the other brother and the father. They vote on it, as is their way, and they all vote yes. And this sets the plan in motion. Now, as I mentioned, over the next 4 months, they buy a ton of the items for their kill kits and their whole plan. And they plan out to kill Hannah right after she's given birth, because at that point, that's one of the only times that they'll have their daughter, Sophia, with them. So she won't be there. Which is so fucking cold-blooded, if you think about it.
It's insanely cold-blooded. Like, oh my God.
It's fucking nuts.
It's insane.
So on the night of the murders, George III, who's the father, makes a plan to meet up with Christopher to discuss a drug deal. So this is late at night, which is why most of the family is asleep, which is how they're able to fucking kill them all so easily.
Right.
His 2 sons, Billy and Jake, whatever the fuck their names are, they are waiting in the truck with the guns. And they attack. The, not silencers, whatever they are, helps them not wake up the whole house.
It's like in cold blood.
And yeah, it is. It's insane. And after the murders, the family took all the weapons, cell phones, etc., and hid them in 5-gallon buckets. So some of the stuff that they bought was, so they also, beyond the silencers and the whatever they're called, the whatever, I can't think of the word, but anyway, they also bought a cell phone jammer. So that even if somebody woke up, they wouldn't be able to call. They take all of this, they take the cell phones, everything, and they stick them in 5-gallon buckets. They fill those buckets with concrete, and then they give them to one of their cousins who lives in the area to use as a boat anchor because he likes to fish. So he uses those to like anchor his boat because that's what people make as cheap boat anchors. And then somehow accidentally the lines get cut, leaving these boat anchors with all of the evidence in them at the bottom of a lake. So police recover them, they find the guns, the ammo, the silencers, the phone jammer, the phones, all of that. Now they have all of this evidence. They have Jake's testimony. So Angela here does not fight it. She pleads guilty, agrees to testify against her ex-husband and her other son, and she's given a 30-year sentence. Jake was given life without parole, and very recently, just this year, testified against his brother George, who also got life without parole, despite pleading not guilty. So he didn't go for the plea deal, but Jake's plea deal saved him from the death penalty. Their father has not gone to trial yet, but that's coming up very shortly, and I guarantee you he's going to get the same outcome. So now we have 3 young children, including, one that was, he was the father of, who are now displaced in foster care in fucking Ohio. We have this whole fucking dead family. Like just unbelievable.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Just over custody.
What a wild fucking family and choices that they all decided to make. And those kids are all
those are some choices.
Are all like the losers in all this. Like the also victims. So
yes. Agreed.
That's
so fucked up.
That's really fucked up.
These people are insane. Just the fucking cold-bloodedness is just next fucking level.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, all right, there it is.
Appalachia.
Fucking bleak ass tale.
Yeah.
Appalachia.
What are we doing next week?
Place. So we kind of did this one a long time ago, and I came to this in a roundabout way. I was like, I need something holiday, and then I was like, murders of ski resorts. And I was like, there's not enough of ski resorts. But the ones that I found were all rich people. So I want to do society murders.
Oh, rich people.
I think we called it Murders of the Rich and Famous last time we did it. I would love to keep it kind of like at ski resorts or
Aspen.
A little more on the holiday.
Murders of Aspen.
That would be good. No, we can also do New York. New York's really, wintry. I think anywhere like the Hamptons, anywhere that we can do any.
Murders of the Rich and Famous Winter Edition.
Winter Edition. There we go. Yes. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
That sounds good.
We sussed it out.
That's
guys.
perfect.
We got it. Okay. Amazing. So that's what we'll do next week. I really like that. I like the subcategory of the category. I think we both need to run, so let's get going.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thanks everybody for listening. Please like, rate, review. Tune in soon. We will get the Patreon going. There's always something that gets in the way. This time it was a literal human life, so I think we get a little bit of grace there.
Yeah.
But we'll make it happen soon. Thanks everybody for listening, and until the next episode,
stay
off our
list.
Bye.